This is an intro webinar to the upcoming series that we're going to be going over on all the options that you could set up LearnDash. I'm James Tryon. I'm the training specialist at LearnDash. Like I said earlier, this is a webinar series that we're going to be going over the different possible setups. This is going to be a multi-series webinar that's going to be happening every couple weeks. And we're going to be covering everything from hosting to marketing and automation. Disclaimer, this is just my opinion. So technically, I do work for LearnDash, and this is brought to you by LearnDash, but anything that we're covering here today is my opinions. They're things that I covered in research that we did. It's not necessarily the opinions of LearnDash or anyone there. This is just my experience using LearnDash. There's no affiliate links here. So if I'm recommending something, that's because I actually like it or use it. This is a question that happened earlier this week. In fact, it happens a lot. Someone's wondering, what's the best way to set up LearnDash? As David said, there's a tremendous amount of ways to set up LearnDash. One thing that I would like to point out while we're here is LearnDash is a fantastic platform. It's a learning management system first, and it's meant to leverage your system in WordPress and to work with your setup. A lot of our users already have a site or already have an environment set up. So when they're using LearnDash, they're adding to it versus adding to their environment versus starting something from scratch. If you did need to start something from scratch, LearnDash is a great solution for that too. So it really depends on your needs and what you're trying to do. You really want to do some better planning before you even start and what you want to do. But one more disclaimer, I would not let any of that stuff get in the way. Everything that we're going to go over today is nice to haves. If you're trying to get a course out there and trying to get something created, I would not let any of the software stop you. The only thing that you need, and you don't even need LearnDash as much as I do love LearnDash, is just the LearnDash plugin. Like, you don't need to go anything else, add anything else to the stack. I do think you should. I do think that's going to make your user experience better. But if you're trying to just get something up and working, or start a project to start making some money that then will grow and you can reinvest, like, by all means, I would just start there. You don't need to do anything else that we're going to be talking about today or in the upcoming webinar series. So we will go over, the simple approach versus a more advanced approach. But just to clarify, the purpose of this webinar is a broad overview of everything that it could be, and I know that I'm going to be leaving lots of things out. So here's a couple questions. In fact, I think I have like 3 pages of questions, and these are only a few of things that you want to think about before you start trying to structure and figure out your site. One of them that I don't list here on this slide would be hosting. I mean, I know that's a big deal, and we actually talk about it in the slides, but do you already have a site? Are you setting up a site? Is this a pre-existing site, or is this starting from scratch? So if it's nothing, it doesn't exist, not only do you have to worry about and think about hosting, you would probably even want to think about a domain. And before the domain, you're probably going to want to think about branding and marketing and all of that stuff. I wouldn't get too caught up in that. I would really focus on your content and your course. But once you have a solid course, the other stuff is super important, but can always be modified or changed as you go. So I wouldn't get hung up on it if it gets you to market faster. And here's a couple quick questions. Are you looking for a quick and easy setup, or do you want more advanced controls over the user experience? And I think you can do both, right? There's no reason why you can't start with one and work your way up to the other. Do you need live courses? And that would be something like we're doing here today, or some type of scheduling, or people show up in person if we get back to that normal anytime soon, or an online course where everyone is also interacting and sharing. Also, are you going to be selling any supporting collateral, like books or worksheets or any PDFs? And are you just selling those things, or are these things electronically downloaded and then the students print them themselves? are these hardcover books that you're actually having to mail out, and therefore you have to track inventory on? Same thing with the live courses. Is this something that you might be selling a live course to, but then you also got limited seats? So you also have to make sure you don't oversell your seating there. So any of these types of questions are going to trigger a more advanced user experience, and also would maybe pivot on what plugins you might use later on. Here's a couple of others. Uh, like you also want to figure out who your target audience is before you start going after and building things, because just making something pretty or all these really cool things, maybe you don't need it. Depending on what your audience is or what you're trying to do, or even what your course is, what you're selling, maybe your user base isn't really that technical, so then you don't need to do all these extra fancy things. Maybe just the bare bone system would be great for you. uh, do you plan on offering any type of membership? Do you plan on selling your courses versus just giving them away for free? Or are you planning on giving them away for free, but also registering and they're part of a bigger thing? A lot of our members will give away their courses, but the courses are part of a membership, like a feature. So, like, you join the membership and you get access to the courses. Uh, Another thing is, how much coding experience do you have? Do you want to build something yourself from scratch or with code, or tie into hooks and filters, or do you want something that's a more done for you solution that you just go in there and you can change the colors or swap out the text, or something like that? There's both options for all types of situations, and I think we're going to try to cover all those over this next webinar series. And in fact, we've covered a lot of these in the past too, so if you have any questions or as we go, feel free to ask, and we'll be happy to link out to some of those past webinars. You can find our past webinars at our YouTube channel. I believe it's youtube.com/channel/ LearnDash LMS. That'll be in the notes wherever this is posted as well. Here's a last page of questions for now. And just this preface, this is only a small portion of the questions you should be thinking about. So I'm not trying to overwhelm anyone, but I also want everyone to think, like, what all goes into actually making a website in an LMS course and selling it, or a membership, or all those things to make your business profitable. Because once you start selling, or once you have your course done, that's only part of it. Building your site is a big part of it, and then marketing your site and content in your courses, however you plan on doing that, that's also a huge part of it. So once you're done, if no one knows it exists, no one will be able to find it. So you have to think about all those things as well, and that's a much bigger process once your course is done. And once you've even figured out all the pretty, that's a larger step afterwards. So we will be covering those in future webinars, but I do want everyone to think about all the aspects of building a course. It's not just what topics and sections should I have, or where should the quiz be. It's also, how am I going to get traffic to my site, and do I need to improve the user registration? Am I having issues with sign up? Are my emails clear? Can I make this process smoother for someone by automating or removing one of these steps? And since LearnDash is meant to work with your system, not always create your system, sometimes our users feel like it's not doing enough for them, when in fact LearnDash always has a simple solution and is meant to tie into a greater solution. So we try to be the LMS and provide a simple approach, and then give you the ability to make that a much more advanced experience if you would like. So a couple more things you might want to think about is, are you planning on offering, certificates? Or do you plan on selling groups of courses? Do you plan on giving unlimited access to your courses? Or is it a one-time fee? Or is it for a lifetime access? Or is it a yearly access? And then, language support. Since you're now selling online, this online education you can help educate anyone. Because of that, there might be a language barrier. So you also have to think about your interface and how that is going to interact with your students at that point. So let's get on with this. So where do you start? Yeah. There's a tremendous amount of questions. As you can see, we just went over 3 quick pages of notes that it could be much larger than this. And there's a lot of other things to think about. And we'll try to cover all those things as we go through the webinar series over the next coming months. I would start with planning. Now, this is just a one slide planning approach because there's just a huge amount of things to cover here. And like we said, all these topics are going to have their own webinar on moving forward. But I would really review all those current questions we had and figure out what are the most important things to you. On top of that, I would then prioritize, meaning, can I add that membership feature later? Can I change the way that someone's buying now for a greater user experience once this is done? Can I have this up and running now, today, and then can I continue to evolve or improve upon this in its dev environment and then push those changes in 2 weeks? Some of your early adopters are going to have maybe some greater benefit or a cheaper price or some more open features versus someone who comes in later on. But I think that's a benefit of them being early adopters and supporting you in something new. It's a benefit, and that's how we do our personal stuff, or we well do away. Well, me speaking as my personal agency side, or with our clients, we always work depending on what they need and minimum viable. And to be honest, I don't really ever think about what plugin or features I'm going to like, what tool I'm going to use. I really worry about what the goal is and how to accomplish that goal for the user. Is it integrating in with a clean user experience throughout everything, or is it get something up and finished because we have a very tight deadline, or is it this is more of a simpler approach because of the organization or its internal training. So we just really need to turn it on and add our courses. There's all types of things you could do or different approaches based off of what your personal goals are. One example might be like a piano teacher might want to start offering supplemental courses for their students throughout the week. So they start by giving access to all their students they're already giving lessons to, just access to their LearnDash. And then once they have that, then the way the students can log in, they can view the current lessons, they can practice along, they can do supporting content. But let's say that piano teacher wants to start offering online lessons because of the COVID. And so then they end up changing over and start integrating Zoom into those. So they're not only providing pre-recorded videos, now they're offering live recorded videos. Or one step further is, what if she wants, instead of offering a group course, individual training? So now she ties in, or ties in a booking course. Now she goes over from the generic LearnDash to adding a WooCommerce with a bookings plugin. So now the teacher can offer integrated booking support, so she can offer featured one-on-one lessons whenever it's convenient based off the schedule. But she's worked into this over the course of a couple iterations of her site as she's built up traffic, and she's been able to facilitate her students the whole time. We'll be adding features. So again, I would worry about what's most important, what the goals are, set a plan, and then start working towards that plan. Try not to be overwhelmed, because you can always add to this or tie into what you have. Now, down to the nitty gritty, how do you get started? Well, you're going to need a host. You can work locally while you're developing and work in testing. I like something called local WP. It allows me to work locally on my own machine without an internet connection. But once you actually start working with a team or needing to develop your site where someone might be able to need to see it from an outside perspective, you're going to want a host. And you're also going to want some type of host that has proper development environment and some way for you to push from staging to production. We're going to, again, a whole entire webinar is going to be devoted to hosting. I always recommend someone to review our popular host for LearnDash link at the bottom whenever the hosting conversation comes up. The recent release of LearnDash has dramatically improved the performance of LearnDash, and it is an amazing performance improvement. So in fact, our hosting list could probably even grow now based off of the new performance numbers. But these are the current hosts that we recommend from a standpoint that we know our system works on. You're not going to have any problems. We have setups based on those. If you do run into issues, where we know like we know that SiteGround site optimization uh, plugin has some issues with caching the LearnDash stuff. So you just have to know how to handle some of the caching in some of these environments. But all of them are great. And I personally, my own personal stuff, not LearnDash related, I personally host with WP Engine and Pantheon for most of our actual things, as if you're asking for my recommendations. And not that the others aren't good, they are all great. I've actually used all of them. It's just the current hosts that I'm currently using happen to be WP Engine and Pantheon. But again, I would be happy to use any of these hosts on this current list, and we'll go have an entire webinar set up to why and how we might use these things. And the TLDR is really proper nightly backups and staging environments. Multiple devs can work in the same environment, and it's a safe environment in case something bad happens. We can revert back quickly. You have a good support team in place if there's any problems. So any of these companies, they're going to be there to support and help you. Some of them might be a little bit more technical than others, but from a standpoint of hosting, you should have no issues with any of these host providers. Once you actually have your hosting stuff set up, and the theme itself isn't something that I would really focus on unless you don't have any coding experience whatsoever. There's a couple options here, and I don't want to just say use this. And again, we're going to have an entire webinar devoted just to themes. But the long and short of it is, how much do you want to do, and what are you buying for? If you're buying a premium theme because you like all the features it does and the way that it looks, and you plan on using all those features, then you should use that premium theme. One example might be Buddy Boss or the University WordPress premium theme, and I believe eLumen also has a pretty LMS focused experience. And I think if you like those things, you should just use those things, but realize where the edges come. If you're wanting to have a little bit more experience with something where you can tailor it more, and you have more control over it using something like a page builder, you're going to want to use something like Hello from Elementor or Astra. I personally use Astra. I also know Cadence is a pretty good theme if you're looking for another premium option that's going to follow along the same lines as Astra. And those types of experiences are going to be more of a framework that give you a lot of options to say, show the header, don't show the header, show the footer, don't show the footer, full width. I mean, a lot of these probably will, but that's more of a blank canvas framework starting point. So you don't have to think about it, all the basics, and you can just design a more custom experience. If you're looking for something that is exactly the demo you saw, then you would want to use something more like the premium themes that are showcasing those templates. There's a couple other things that we didn't go over here. I didn't add to this slide deck, but what you would want to think about too is if you're looking to just get started, and again, I'm not trying to discredit anyone on my slides. If you see their logos on any of the slides, they're things that I would have used or our users are using, and they are involved in the LearnDash environment. But you might have also seen something called starter themes by the Astra team. The free version of Astra works fine, and the free version of starter templates also has all the LearnDash starter templates for free. So if you've used our demo site, or if you've seen any of the other webinars and you've seen what the demo content looks like, those are free starter templates from the starter template plugin from the team behind Astra. So for free, you can install Astra and then go to the plugins and you can install the starter template. And then you go to the starter template area and you search LearnDash. You pick which one you like. It's going to ask you what your page builder is, Gutenberg, Elementor, Beaver Builder, or Oxygen, I believe. I haven't personally used Oxygen. And when you pick one of those, and then it's going to import 3 templates for you and starting content. It's not going to override your theme because the Astra thing is your theme. It's importing files to your theme and setting up your homepage, your course page, about page, maybe a contact page, little things like that, but also importing everything. So in under 20 minutes, and we have past webinars on this, you can have an entire LearnDash site up and running where it's very pretty, and all you have to do is change out your content. And that's using Astra for free. So all these things are decent. I personally use Astra, and there'll be an entire webinar on themes in the coming weeks. Now, some of these things too are pretty strong. So while I'm here, before I go too far off this topic, if you're looking for something that's more like a social media in a box, or let's say an intranet, or where everyone is interacting internally, or you want your entire campus to have access to something, as long as privacy rights are covered and all that's taken care of, however your legal areas are in your school or in your county and your country, I would definitely look into something like Buddy Boss. It's a little bit heavy, so you're going to need a really good server environment for something like that, but Buddy Boss out of the box is going to be a great social media network platform, ready to go. Activities, groups, forums, all that stuff tied right in. And if you want a more tailored approach, you can do the same thing with like Astra and using something like Buddy Press and BB Press for the social media and the forums. So there's other options if you need more tailored approach. So that we've kind of already talked about this, and there's all the questions earlier, like what to consider. So should you be using LearnDash as a standalone site? Reasons you might want to use LearnDash as a standalone site. If you're looking for an easy to use setup, just get it done, set up and go. If you wish to offer free, simple courses, or simple registration, even paid courses, but simple. If you want to have your LearnDash site set up and running in a quick amount of time, then you can use something like this. And that's sort of what I just talked about with like the Astra, the starter themes, just add and go. I think this is a great solution, like I said earlier, for someone who's just starting, and then you can always add to this. There's a couple other bullet points here we could talk about, or like when to not use a standalone site. So those examples are, sometimes you might not want to give access to your entire LMS to your team. Maybe the site is more of a marketing site. Maybe the website is property of the marketing team where you're at, so you actually can't control the actual website. So you might want a subsite there. That way, less people are having access to it. Only the teachers have access to the courses, or the people in charge of the training, or whatever that is. Maybe it's just a lot of traffic. So you want to beef up another server that you don't have to, it doesn't have to be as fast, but you might want to be, it can have more RAM or whatever, but you can treat it slightly different because this is a user logged in experience. And again, it's different from your main site. So you're not bogging down that main site. Sometimes people will sell their courses in one area and make a subsite to control all that. So they're just separating all those things out. The last couple of times I've done this type of environment, it's been a multi-site, and we've actually set up LearnDash as a multilingual and used each site as its own language, and used the main site as the site you're selling. And then if you buy access to the French site, you get access to the subsite of French. If you get access to the English courses, you get the English site. Even though the main site is in English, that seems to work well. So there is use cases for when a separate instance of LearnDash from where you're actually selling or your main brand makes sense. There's also instances where you want to do a standalone as well. And this standalone means standalone on a single install, also selling through LearnDash, only LearnDash. Now, up to about 2, maybe 3 weeks ago, I would have said, if you need to offer any type of coupon codes, you're going to need to use a third-party service. Now, if you're willing to buy a third-party plugin, you can now buy a third-party plugin that gives your LearnDash course the ability to have coupons. So you can use the default LearnDash, PayPal, or Stripe, now offering built-in coupons. So you can offer variable coupons so then someone can then buy at a cheaper or a different rate versus what's posted before. You would actually have to use a third-party plugin like WooCommerce or EDD or something like that. So that's another thing. So if you just want simple, LearnDash is great. If you want to start offering some things like variable pricing or buy more than one thing at a time, then you're going to need to expand outside of LearnDash itself. And that's where all of our built-in support comes from. Something like, WooCommerce or Easy Digital Downloads. If you're looking to sell courses, again, you can sell with LearnDash. You can just sell with LearnDash by itself. Or if you want a more advanced or evolved e-commerce platform, maybe you need to sell inventory. Maybe you need to track inventory. Maybe you want to sell downloadable goods along with your courses. Here's a quick overview of the many options that you could sell with. Now, BuddyPress probably shouldn't be there. It should probably say BuddyBoss. But you could sell with memberships, you can sell without memberships, you can sell through membership services, you could sell membership access and then give access to your courses. Uh, I personally sell courses through WooCommerce, Easy Digital Downloads, Paid Membership Pro, Stripe by itself, Gravity Forms by itself, Restrict Content Pro, and at least one or two other membership plugins that aren't listed here. All of these are great options, and I think ThriveCart's the newest version as well. So we've been really excited about that. We had a beta version for a while, and I believe the ThriveCart team built LearnDash support directly into ThriveCart now. So that's a really nice feature. Thrive Architect and ThriveCart are not the same thing. So just to be clear, those are two separate companies. And we also have several webinars already on how to sell through like Paid Memberships Pro or MemberPress, WooCommerce. Those are already up and published, but we do have at least 3 other webinars up already where you can learn how to sell courses directly through something. And this is another thing like I was talking about earlier. LearnDash is really meant to integrate in. As you can see, like all these other options we'll even talk about when we get down to memberships and a little later, or even marketing. Like it's really meant to tie into whatever you're doing with your system already. It works great with something like BuddyPress, which is a social media platform plugin, or BuddyBoss, which is a fork of BuddyPress, but more tailored and customized. But both of those are, really nice membership features that you could turn your entire platform into a social media, site. Same thing with some of the membership stuff, depending on which features you add through like MemberPress, Membarium, Wishlist Member, Paid Membership Pro, and there's a whole like slides on this. Like you can add a tremendous amount of features to your courses, and a lot of people already have membership sites and they want to add training to it. So our team works really diligently to provide as much support as we can with all these other players, instead of trying to be in a fantastic learning management system and an amazing e-commerce system like WooCommerce or Easy Digital Downloads. We just tie in, like we offer a simple solution and we let them do it because they're great at it. And you're going to get a whole tremendous amount of support with a third-party plugin like that versus what we can support. I mean, we try to support it. I think you get what I mean. You're going to get a much larger ecosystem when you include something like Easy Digital Downloads or WooCommerce into your stack. You also want to consider like payment options, and we'll go over all this when we get into detail about actual e-commerce stuff in future webinars and past webinars. But things to consider about gateways. So if you're using LearnDash by itself and you just want to turn on payment checkout and go, then you can use Stripe and PayPal, use both of them. And I believe you can also enable a to checkout. I have not used to checkout, but I believe it ties directly in as well to the default system. But those three you can use directly without having to use any third-party integration. You can always take off offline payments and give someone direct access to, if it was some type of supporting collateral courses, like we were giving the example earlier with the piano teacher. If once you start expanding your e-commerce options, such as WooCommerce, Easy Digital Download, Stripe, or any of the other membership plugins, you're also going to get a huge amount of integration plugins through their offerings. So some things to keep in mind. I always like to use PayPal first because I've just been using PayPal for so long. It was the first PayPal payment options on the internet. I just feel like that's my go-to solution. But I always integrate Stripe as well. So you can have more than one. I always turn on PayPal first, and then I also integrate Stripe. And that gives the user the choice, if they're going to buy directly through LearnDash, an option how they might want to check out. Now, PayPal, you can also take credit card. You don't need a PayPal account to use it, but you would be leaving the site and then coming back. And I believe based off of the level of Stripe, might be integrated in, or you might have to leave as well. I think the old version of Stripe allowed you to stay, but they might be deprecating those features. So unfortunately, you might also have to leave. And that's another benefit of adding something like WooCommerce or Easy Digital Downloads. Your users could stay on your site versus leaving your site to check out. But both are good options, and people trust Stripe and PayPal. It's not like they're brand new services. But offering more than one of these services is a good idea if you're offering your services globally. Not everyone accepts Stripe and or PayPal in their area. You would want to be careful about that. You'd want to look into your area of where you're planning on selling and targeting, and make sure you're providing the gateway that works best for them. Memberships. This is only like I think we offer support for at least 5 or 6 different uh, membership plugins that we actually write the integration for, and I believe there's at least 4 or 5 others that the membership plugin writes the support for. We do have old webinars on Paid Memberships Pro, WooCommerce subscriptions, and MemberPress, I believe. All three are good options. Along with memberships, you also have like a basic membership where you sign up and now you're a member of this site. You can see all of our things, and that might be dependent on access to the plugin. So as long as you have an active paid subscription to the plugin, you're good. And I shouldn't have said subscription. As long as you have an active plugin, you're good. So like a basic membership doesn't mean subscription. It doesn't mean renewing. So that's a big difference in some of these things. And I believe they all have settings to integrate in or offer that. But that'll also be dependent on your gateway as well. So not to get too far into the weeds here, but one thing to keep in mind is, do you want reoccurring payments? And will my membership platform offer and or support reoccurring payments? And where my members live, does the payment option that supports subscriptions work in their area? Meaning PayPal subscriptions is great, but if they don't offer PayPal where your members are, then you can't use PayPal as a means to keep your subscriptions going. I personally use WooCommerce subscriptions. I've been using them for years, but that's a personal thing. I knew the team. I helped work on their mascot years ago before they were acquired by WooCommerce. So that's just me liking subscriptions. But all of these plugins are great. I actually own licenses for several of them. Paid Memberships Pro is a free version, and you pay for the support. That's a great plugin as well. So a lot of times too with memberships, I will sell access to the site. So you're actually gaining access through the membership layer, and then all of the LearnDash courses are set to free or open. That way, if you just want them to take it, it's just set to open. If you want to track progress, or if you want to make someone actually register for a course, you would set it to free. But using the membership layer to then grant access to your like features of courses, then you're controlling payment a layer up, and then your courses are becoming features. Now you can also sell access to your courses and then also sell courses. There's nothing wrong with that. It works both ways. A lot of these plugins can also work both ways. A lot of times I've actually sold access to paid memberships through Pro through WooCommerce. Sometimes I'll use Restrict Content Pro, but I'm not using their membership features. I'm just using an active member or not, or a user account or not, if logged in, and then I'm using the Restrict Content Pro features. But Restrict Content Pro can be used as an entire membership platform because of their features, and they have a built-in shopping cart if you go that far. So there's a tremendous amount of options. I would not use all of them at once, but sometimes they're good to add one or two. And we'll go into this with more detail when we get to the memberships webinar. And there is also past memberships webinars if you wanted to check those out. They are about a year old, so they're good, but WordPress plugins evolve quickly. So a video that's a year old, things I might say in that video are only accurate at the time of that recording. And all these videos might have new and improved features since then. So I do think those videos are worthwhile, but I would recommend um, figuring out what your features are first, and then trying to figure out the best approach for that, or what plugin's going to offer you those features, the most of your features, without having to code it yourself if you're not looking to code. I know this can be a lot, but you're probably only going to want to pick one of these from each kind of category and then kind of work your way through or stay in that path. Meaning you probably wouldn't use Easy Digital Downloads and WooCommerce. And depending on the path, Easy Digital Downloads or WooCommerce, those add-ons that you purchase in the future would also be different. So same thing with like marketing integration. You want to make sure whatever tool you're using also integrates well with whatever you're planning on offering in the future. And speaking of marketing automation, here's a couple options, and this is a whole bunch of stuff going on right here. All 5 of these are kind of different things. Well, they fall into different categories, and these are just examples of some of them. And I would definitely recommend using the one that meets your business needs the most. So let's start with a newsletter solution. If you want something free, very easy to use, more like GUI user interface, but it's going to be a little limiting, MailChimp. MailChimp is a good solution, and I believe you can have up to 2,000 subscribers for free. I do think the free account is a little limiting, and I used them for years as a fine choice for when I just needed an email solution. I have used other things like HubSpot for this, but HubSpot is a much larger solution and a very expensive solution for doing some of the same things that MailChimp offers. And MailChimp does offer more automation if you're willing to go that far with some of their services. So I don't want to sound like I'm talking negative about any of these services, but I think MailChimp is a great starting point. I personally use ActiveCampaign right now, and that's because based off of my interview with Jack from WP Fusion, I'm planning on using WP Fusion more, and ActiveCampaign ties really well into WP Fusion. So does HubSpot, but that's the main reason why I'm going that approach. So Salesforce, HubSpot, even MailChimp to an extent, those are CRMs, or customer relationship managers, on top of offering marketing tools like MailChimp and HubSpot offering newsletters. And I think they both offer landing pages now, but those are different things. CartFlow is an amazing tool, but it's meant to help optimize your checkout process on your site. So streamlining your sales page to your shopping cart to your checkout, or maybe going to your sales page directly to checkout, or maybe sales page with a pop-up to checkout. Like CartFlow helps you streamline your checkout process, and that is also going to be dependent on how you're selling and checking out. But that's not quite the same as a CRM. That's a marketing tool to help you streamline your marketing. MailChimp is a way to sign people up for email newsletters easily. Salesforce, HubSpot are much more of a CRM focus, but also offer email communication. And WP Fusion, I don't want to speak incorrectly here, but it's sort of like a tool to uh, make your CRM way more advanced and targeted. And it allows you to add tags to your users as your users are experiencing your site to allow you to target them with a much more automated and exact approach. One example could be you can tag all your lessons with different types of tags based off of how they perform. You can then hide or show different lessons for them in future lessons based off of the tags. So WP Fusion can be a marketing tool. It can be used to make your user experience better. It can be used to gather content. It can do all types of really cool stuff. I don't really quite know how to fit it in besides to say it's a powerful marketing tool, and I would encourage you to check out that webinar. And I'm sorry, the interview we did with the founder, co-founder Jack, which is a really great conversation. And I was, I signed up that day because of how great it is. So some more automation plugins you might want to think about is Uncanny Automator plugin. This is by the Uncanny team. Uh, Also Zapier. If you need something a little simpler, or if you're already using Zapier, you can use the Zap, and LearnDash ties directly into that. I have not used Uncanny Automator too much. I haven't used it at all. I've been wanting to. And I think a lot of our users use that plugin to go from a main site to a subsite when they register, or some of those type of marketing tools. I'm looking forward to diving into that more in the future. And Slack here, well, this isn't really, this is more automation. What the reason I have Slack here is we have Slack messages set up when someone signs up or someone opens a support ticket. Our team's in Slack. So I can also track what's happening or be notified a little quicker with a Slack message than stay out of my email if I'm already in Slack. So Slack is more of an admin tool to help with the automation or awareness. It's not quite a user automation tool. And we will get into a whole webinar on marketing automation, uh, marketing and automation. I think it'll probably be two. On top of themes, as we talked earlier, I think page builders is a really important topic that a lot of people can get a little overwhelmed with. And by default, you probably don't want to use more than one. Um, that right now, LearnDash has built-in support for all four of these, but you don't have as much control in Beaver Builder and Divi as you would with Elementor and Gutenberg. Just to be clear, the built-in page builder for LearnDash is called the Page Builder, but the development version of the built-in page builder is called Gutenberg. So when you hear someone say Gutenberg, they're referring to the page builder that's built into WordPress, even though it's the development code name of the page builder. But LearnDash has built-in blocks for Gutenberg. The built-in blocks for Gutenberg do not work in anything else but Gutenberg or the page builder. However, we do have shortcodes, and the shortcodes will work in all builders. Also, we have Elementor widgets built in if you have Elementor Pro. You need the Elementor Pro version, but if you have Elementor Pro, you get access to the free LearnDash widgets that would allow you to build your courses and things. So personally, what do I use? I started with Beaver Builder. I don't want to overspeak. I think Beaver Builder's team is great. I think their code is fantastic. It is a very sturdy platform. But unfortunately, my go-to has really been Elementor the past year and a half. And that's probably due to the Elementor third-party support, meaning the other premium plugins that I can buy to extend Elementor. Also, I use both Elementor and Gutenberg on my sites. I know that sounds crazy, but I use the page builder for most things. And when I want to make a really fancy page, I'll use Elementor. Or if I need to make a landing page or a sales page, I'll use Elementor. But I try to leverage Gutenberg because it can do almost everything Elementor can do. It's going to be a way slimmer code base. It's the native code itself. So just from a performance standpoint, Gutenberg's code is cleaner and it's going to load faster. And since Gutenberg is built in core, well, the page builder version, it's not going to conflict with Elementor unless you're opening it in one, making a bunch of changes, and then switching to Elementor and switching back. Like, I don't recommend switching back and forth, but you can say this page will be Elementor and this page will be Gutenberg. So uh, same thing goes with any of these. I would actually use Elementor, Beaver Builder, or Divi. I would also probably encourage the use of Gutenberg as well, and trying to wean yourself off of the need of the page builders. Margot asks, what if you're using the native page builder in WordPress, not Gutenberg? And when again, just to clarify, it's practically the same thing. If you were to download Gutenberg from the repo, that's the active development features that haven't made it to core yet. But the built-in page builder for WordPress is Gutenberg. It's the no bugs slash released version of that. And then so once those get to a release version, those cores, the page builder of Gutenberg gets merged into core, and it's just the page builder. So they're the same, just one's active development, the other is not. So reporting, what does reporting look like? Now, to be completely honest, I haven't really messed with Tin Can API stuff or Grassblade things yet. That's something I would like to know more about. I have not personally had a chance to dive into that too much. However, the Pro Panel stuff for LearnDash is pretty good. We do have a Pro Panel webinar I would recommend everyone checking out. You can see how your students are doing, how you can email a targeted group of users. You can see who started what courses, where they're at in progress wise. So there will probably be another reporting webinar soon, but it's probably going to be more in the Tin Can Grassblade stuff first. And I'm going to have to really get up to speed on that before I can tell anyone else about it. But as far as reporting goes, if you have at least the second tier version of LearnDash, meaning like if you just bought the single license, it doesn't come with Pro Panel. But if you buy the bundled license, it also comes with Pro Panel. And I think the difference is like $30. It's well worth the money because of all the reporting tools you get with it, and to be able to check progress. And you can actually build front-end reports if you want, if you don't want people using the back-end reports. I would go to our YouTube channel and check out the webinar on that. All these topics we've talked about today, this is an overview of possible options you could use to set up your LearnDash site. We're going to go into detail on what you might want to use, when and how, in future webinars. Third-party plugins. There's a lot of them. So just some things to keep in mind. What does the term third-party plugin mean? And there will not be a standalone third-party plugin talk, because every webinar will include some third-party plugin solutions. What a third-party plugin is really, it's just a plugin that ties into LearnDash that the LearnDash team isn't developing. So we have plugins in our repo like WooCommerce, Easy Digital Downloads, Gravity Forms. Those are plugins that the LearnDash team maintains and makes sure works with the current version of those plugins and LearnDash. A third-party plugin is the same, it is just an independent developer who built a plugin that works for LearnDash. So it's not saying it's good or bad. It's just not built or supported by the LearnDash team. The only thing I'll say about that is it's not supported by the LearnDash team. So if a third-party plugin gives you issues, unfortunately, we can help troubleshoot it through the support team and say, oh, it looks like it's X. But that's probably where the support is going to stop. And you would have to go to that third-party plugin team to get additional help, or post in the Facebook group to get some feedback there. Some other third-party plugins you might want to consider is like Zoom video conferencing for WordPress, BuddyPress, we talked about earlier. BuddyBoss is one of those things. Same thing with ThriveCart. ThriveCart would be a third-party plugin now because it ties directly through them. I think we still might have a version of our plugin too, so don't quote, but you get the idea. So I understand that's a lot to take in, and there's a lot of different options there on what you could and couldn't do, and we didn't even get into details on why you might want to pick something over the other. Um, One quick example is, and this is something that's changed recently, uh, is Easy Digital Downloads. Easy Digital Downloads is a great platform to sell your courses and sell your digital goods. And in fact, I personally use them on top of WooCommerce. Uh, Up till recently, if you ever needed to sell anything that was tangible that needed to be shipped, you would have to go WooCommerce because Easy Digital Downloads um, didn't support tangible goods or shipping things. Well, recently they do. So now you can get a premium add-on for Easy Digital Downloads that lets you ship tangible goods. That's great. Now, I will say, if you need to track inventory on tangible goods, you're still probably going to want to go to WooCommerce because Easy Digital Downloads doesn't track inventory yet. But, before, those are something that you would want to think about. Do I need to sell something tangible? Okay, I need to move to Easy Digital Downloads or WooCommerce. Next question. Do I need to track inventory? Yes or no? Yes? Okay. Well, then you're going to want to use WooCommerce. So we're going to go over some questions like that uh, as we start going through and breaking down each of these topics in the upcoming webinar series. If you have any questions yourself, feel free to ask them in the chat. If there's any setups that you want or any advice on what you would do based off of these features, feel free to ask in the chat. Feel free to ask in the Facebook group or post, in the comments under this video, wherever this video is posted, and we'll try our best to respond. These webinars are brought to you by LearnDash, picked out from the Facebook group. If there's a topic you uncovered or you have issues, please feel free to reach out in the Facebook group, post your topic there, ask for a webinar. Feel free to, tag me if you would like. I think the plugin for Zoom, the one a lot of people are using, I think it's Zoom video conferencing for WordPress. It's called Zoom video conferencing for WordPress. Someone asked, what is the best plugin for Zoom? I haven't personally used that, but that's the one a lot of people are using. I would also search the Facebook group for Zoom. Go to the group sidebar. There's a search, or at the top header, there's a search. Search for Zoom, and you'll see too. The search is pretty powerful. I'm trying to tag topics to make them more relevant too as they come up. So you'll see tags there. Well, thanks everyone for joining us. I've been your host, James Tryon. Like I said, these videos are brought to you on behalf of LearnDash from LearnDash. We greatly enjoy your support by following us in the Facebook group or on YouTube here once this video goes up to YouTube. Feel free to subscribe to get all the videos as they get posted. And if you have any questions, post below. Really appreciate your time. Thanks. Have a great day.